Well, it's the weekend, and it's not even over. Now, as you probably know, Stardom just had their much recent big show in Osaka Supreme Fight. Now, this one features many matches, of course. The unit versus unit match between EXV and Mivi La Loca. We have, of course, Aya Sakura versus Maki Ito. Then we have, of course, three title matches involving the tag belts, the white belt, and the red belt. So we're going to see what's going to happen throughout everything from A to Z. And then, of course, we move on with AEW Collision featuring plenty of matches. There is, of course, one match involving, of course, for the AEW World Tag Team belts. And, of course, a preview of certain matches, such as, of course, the hair versus hair match that will happen in Grand Slam Australia, and plenty other things. We even got the parking lot brawl between, of course, Eddie Kingston Ortiz with the Rascals against GYV, Big Bill, and Brian Keith, and plenty other things as well. So we'll see how things is going to progress. But also on an added bonus, no news updates for today. So let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is the channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. Anywhere pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information is unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough of the jibber jabbers. Let's get started. So, let's begin with Stardom. Okay, Stardom. Supreme Fight in Osaka at the Edion Arena Osaka, which is the much bigger venue in that very same location, in case anybody asks. Now, we do have two pre-show matches. The first one is a five-way match. We have, of course, Azusa Inaba versus Kiyoka Kotatsu, Lady C, Momokogo, and Yuna Mizumori. Now, obviously, some of you may notice something about this match. Yuna Mizumori is, in fact, the current high-speed champion. Obviously, many people were in this match. Azusa, Kotatsu, Lady C, and, of course, Momokogo would definitely want to win this match in order to pin Yuna Mizumori to get a title shot. And that's exactly because I know for a fact I have seen Lady C and Momokogo already made their claims that they want a challenger. So the real question is, who's going to be doing that? So basically, you can tell it's going to be a feeding frenzy here. But the one person that surprises the most that picked up the win against her was, in fact, of course, Momokogo, when she applied a somewhat of a modified crucifix And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it's over. So basically, she's already making her claim to become the next challenger for the high speed belt. Now remember, she has challenged this belt before, but apparently no success. So basically, she's now next in line. Now, our second pre-show, well, we have a very interesting one. We have, of course, Kikyo Furusawa, Ane Kanae, and Sayaka Kurara taking on members of God's Eye, consistent of Rana Yagami, Tomoka Inaba, and Hina. Now, obviously, many of you know that Kurara is, in fact, one half of the New Blood Tag Team Champions, with, of course, Aya Sakura. Now, obviously, if she gets pinned, because I know deep down there is Rana Yagami, who's been her rival and also part of the same class with her, would definitely want to pin her. But in the end, it was in fact Hina who picked up the win on Kurara when she first applied a modified jackhammer and then the Mad Splash, what looks like a Florida Splash, but it was later confirmed that's what they're calling it, the Mad Splash. And just like that, it was over. However, she actually made a gesture for the belt. I'm not sure if she was talking about the new blood belts because later on something happened with her that I did not anticipate, but we'll see. Now, our first match in the main card is Rina versus Fuwa-chan. Now, remember, Rina has a problem with wrestlers who she thinks are not worthy to become wrestlers because A, they are too old to be wrestlers because, as you all know, her sister Hina, and Hanan, they started out at a very young age. And Rina oftentimes called the older wrestlers shitty old hags for obvious reasons. And now she's looking at this new girl who's been making headways, Fuwa-chan, who is now becoming a pro wrestler. And she feels, Fuwa-chan, you're a bitch. You don't belong in this ring. And Fuwa-chan, I have to say, she took it to the max. No matter what she tried, no matter what Rina tried to do, she would not surrender. However, of course, this match ended with Rina applying, of course, the pink devil on her, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. But of course, in the post-match, Rina did say she still doesn't recognize her as a pro wrestler, but you probably can tell Fuwa-chan is not going to take that kindly with her. She'll probably will get her revenge against her. But Rina feels like, sorry, I don't recognize you as a pro wrestler. One way or the other, they will cross paths, but the real question is when and where. Now, our next match, this one's a very interesting. This one is for the Kawaii of Kawaii Championship. This is basically made out of paper by, of course, Maki Ito, and she takes on Aya Sakura. Now, for all of you, you probably try to understand what exactly is going on in this match. Simple. Ever since Maki Ito, of course, first arrived, many of us know who followed her career, she often calls herself the cutest in the world. Aya Sakura took offense to that for obvious reasons, because of course, if you guys remember, she did stated that she and Kurara are in fact disciples of the cutest in the universe, and she was referring to Tam Nakano. So in her perspective, she's saying what gives her the right to call herself the cutest in the world. So it became like a battle about who is in fact the cutest in the world. But one thing that was really interesting is during the match, well, as you know, I mentioned that Maki Ito created her own custom-made championship. She tossed it to Sakura, and of course, it looks kind of fake, not like a real one. And of course, the ref was like saying, "Did you hit her?" And then of course, I was like, "Wait a minute, this is even fake." And I thought it was really, really funny, and that sort of thing. But however, of course, unfortunately, Aya Sakura came short when she lost to her when she put her in the Texas Cloverleaf, and just like that, she tapped out. And of course, she had no other choice but to say she is the cutest in the world, and that kind of bothers her. I'm sure she'll get even with Maki Ito in some point in the future, but only time will tell. Now, moving on here, boys and girls. Now, our next match, we had a bit of a four-way tag team match. First, we have the members of Stars, Yuri Him and Saida versus Neo Genesis, Miyu Amasaki and Azumi versus Cosmic Angel, Saori Ano and Natsupoi versus Gokigen Death and Kudai Azuki, which of course is Azuki. However, of course, when it comes to four ways, we know it's a bit chaotic because the referee will lose track who it is. But however, there is some moments between both Miyu Amasaki and Sayori Anu. If you guys probably know, they're both from almost the same region. Sayori Anu is from Shiga, and Miyu Amasaki is from Kyoto. So that kind of sets it up right there, like a bit of a rivalry in some ways. But unfortunately, this match would have been won by Sayori Anu. She had what's her name, Yuri, dead grabs with the pottering, but it was Miyu Amasaki that picked up the win by taking her out, and then of course, just like that, 1, 2, 3, Amasaki picked up the win, and of course, Saudi Anuf is pissed because she felt I had this match won and took it away from me. But we're probably going to see a rivalry between the two of them at some point. But we'll see what happens as we get down the road. Now, our next match, as you all know, recently, not too long ago, Saki Kashima, of course, issued that announced that she was going to retire in April, and now she's getting matches set up. And apparently, she's facing the one person she did not want to face, and that is Shuri. If you guys remember from the early days of her time with God's Eye, she was basically afraid of her. She didn't want to fight her. I mean, she always viewed Shuri as her protector. But, of course, she went back to some old habits. For example, try to run, but she used that as a trap, and I thought it was smart. But one thing that was funny is the fact that Shuri, well, let's just say she did not use her usual arsenal in her repertoire. She used something from Kashima, and she used, of course, the Kishikase, which was kind of surprising. But it worked. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but sooner or later, we'll see what happens to Kashima. I'm sure there's many people that want to have one last match with her before she officially retires. Now, as you all know, we've been seeing the war between both Mi Vida Loca and EXV going back and forth. Both leaders have hated each other since they first met. We're talking about Maika and Suzuki. First, of course, we have representing Mi Vida Loca, Akira Kurigani, Izuki Aoki, Rina Yamashita, and Suzuki. And then, of course, we have EXV members Rian, Waka Tsukiyama, Hanako, Zina, and Maika. Now, however, as this match goes, it becomes chaotic. First up, Aoki eliminates Waka, and then she eliminates Zina. But Hanako eliminates Aoki. And then, of course, Rina Yamashita and Hanako eliminated themselves over the top. And that is part, of course, of the gauntlet. And then, of course, it became the two leaders between Maika and Zuzu. But unfortunately, this match ended in a time limit draw after, 15 minutes? And then it continued on with the rookies, of course, with Kurigani and Rian. Now, recently, as you know, Rian has defeated Kurigani multiple occasions. But, however, what's surprising, it was Kurigani who overturned it and pinned Rian. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. And of course, during the post-match promo, we did see, of course, Zuzu happy with the results, and not to mention happy for Kurigani for finally getting a big win in this match for her. I mean, this was definitely a win for Kurigani. It may not be like the just because she is Rian, it's bigger than that, folks. She actually won for her team. She often been looked at as the weakest link, but however, during this moment, EXV Maika had made one final decision, and that decision is to disband EXV. So basically, things are not going bad. So many people probably will ask, where would they go? I don't know. I mean, I could picture some people will definitely go with God's Eye. I would definitely see some will go with either Stars. Others would probably Cosmic. One I would say Rianne would probably go with Cosmic Angels for obvious reasons, because I know she has often asked for help with Natsupoi and Sayuri Anu a few times. But yes, but we'll see where that leads us with them. I mean, that's going to be difficult. Now, our next three matches are the actual title matches. The first one is the Goddesses of Stardom Championship, the tag belt. Star members B. Priestley and Hana. Now remember, B. Priestley has been both champions in separate occasions. Raka and Natsuko Tora of Hate, but together they're known as BMI 2000. Now, of course, when it comes to Hate, we all know their usual MO. They normally like to cheat their way through by using their seconds to do their dirty work, distract referees, using weapons and all that. However, of course, B. Priestley got it bad when, of course, Natsuko Tora missed her in the face, causing her to be separated away from Hana. Hana did whatever it took to stay alive as much as possible, but unfortunately it was not enough because it was Natsuko Tora who walked away with the win when she applied the Swanton Bomb, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now our next match is the Wonder of Stardom Championship, aka the White Belt. Konami defends it against Ami Suri. Now recently, of course, I believe, if you guys remember last year, it was Ami Suri who decided to pursue this belt, but however, that did not come into fruition because the person that beat her for a chance of this belt is none other than, of course, Saya Ida. But after Ida, it was Rina, and now it's Ami Suri. So I have to say this match was very intensified for Ami Suri. She tried to use whatever strength she has. Not to mention Konami using, of course, the outside ring, trying to soften her up, try to put enough pain into her. And of course, we've been seeing the spray can being used once again. But however, it didn't take any effect onto her because she was determined to win. But however, of course, we did see Hate get involved on a few occasions. But unfortunately, Konami was able to pick up the win by applying a sleeper hold. And just like that, of course, 1, 2, 3, it was over. No, never mind. She tapped out. And of course, Konami had the audacity to gloat on Ami Suri over the win. But of course, the next challenger was none other than Hina. Now remember, I mentioned a championship gesture. I wasn't sure if she was referring to the. At first, I thought, of course, let me clarify, that it was the New Blood Tag Team belts, but no, it seems that she was aiming for the white belt. It's interesting because, as you know, not too long ago, her own twin sister, Konami's own teammate, Rina, challenged it and failed. And now here comes the other sister taking on. I mean, Konami often say that Rina is the far more better sister out of all three of them. But Hina, of course, we have seen her improvement on countless times. But we'll see what happens until then. Now, our next one, our main event, is the Wonder of Stardom Championship, aka the Red Belt. Starlight Kid decided to aim higher this time, and this was something that she brought upon. And not to mention, Kamitani is determined to prove that she is the face of Stardom and the face of pro wrestling in general, no matter what. But at some moment, you guys might have noticed that, of course, Kamitani dislocated her finger, and they had to stop for a little bit. And of course, Kamitani decided to push through. And of course, as always, we see the usual tactics from Hate to get involved to ensure that this belt does not leave in possession from away from Hate. And then of course, Saya Kamitani applied a Star Crusher, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. She retained the belt. She goes out to tell Starlight Kid, telling her she'll never beat her. And not to mention, she goes out, I may have broken a finger, and that's what pro wrestling is all about. Keep going. But however, out of nowhere, Sayaka Kurara showed up and decided to challenge her again. But of course, Kamitani was not going to let that happen. But Kurara told her that I'm going to take everything that belongs to you, that you taken. And of course, Kamitani had no idea what she's talking about. But she's not determined to give her a championship match. But sooner or later, she has to. I mean, I feel deep down that Kurara is now using the same kind of spirit as Tam Nakano. Remember, Tam Nakano never gave up on both the white belt and the red belt on different occasions. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, but it is what it is. But we'll see what happens until then. But as of right now, we're done with Stardom. Let's move on with AEW Collision. Okay, AEW Collision. So we have our next match, which has a bit of a world AEW World Tag Team title consistency involved. We have, of course, the Young Bucks. We all know their reputation, and then there's the strong and powerful, the Gates of Agony, GOA, Bishop Khan, and of course, Teo Leona. So obviously, this has some implications revolving the tag belts. So the obvious question we ask ourselves, what's going to happen from there? Well, you probably can guess that the GOA were using a lot of brute force, strength, and powerhouse to dismantle the Young Bucks, and the Young Bucks refuses to stay down no matter what because, as you know, the Young Bucks have always declared themselves one of the best tag teams in the world, and that's exactly what they're trying to do to prove themselves once again. And they did many ways to ensure it does go that far. I mean, the one bigger person that they had to take out was Teo Leona, who is much stronger and much difficult to take down. So they used a lot of ways to do so. But in the end, it was, of course, the Meltzer driver onto Bishop Khan, pinned by Nick, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, the Young Bucks picked up the win. But however, things did not go end there until, of course, we did see in the Titantron, FTR congratulated them, their long-standing rivals. So as you probably can guess how that's going to be. So we'll see what happens from there. Now, in the ring, Renee Paquette was intending to do an interview with Chris Statlander until she was speared by Tekla, and then, of course, the rest of Triangle of Madness, of course, attacked her from out of nowhere. Then they used a belt to hit her in the back. But however, Chris Statlander said this match between them is going to be a strap match. And I'm sure this is the kind of thing that Tekla wanted. So basically, Chris Statlander is giving Tekla the keys to this match. But we'll see what happens from there. Now, we did see an interview with Lex Neer talking to Kyle Fletcher. Now, of course, Fletcher goes out of his way about Ciampa decided to do the open challenge thing. He feels like this is stupid. You know, he should not have done that. He might have figured Mark Briscoe was an arrogant fool to do open challenges. But Ciampa, well, he decided to do it because he wanted to. And two people have responded to that. And that is, of course, Claudio Castagnoli and Roderick Strong. But however, of course, Okada shows up and tells him, why not take that title back in your home country of Australia? Obviously, he gives them the encouragement. Look, the best moment is in your home country, which is home field advantage, and that's exactly what he's told him. And then he goes, Proto Okada. So basically, there's that. Now, we did see our next match, Scorpio Sky versus Kevin Knight. I thought this match was incredible. I mean, Scorpio Sky really is a wrestler we definitely looked up an AEW original. And here comes the future, of course, Kevin Knight. And Kevin Knight really put on a good show. But the obvious question how this was going to end, it ended with Kevin Knight applying a UFO splash. You can say it was an upset on this one, not to mention Scorpio Sky, a former TNT champion. And that kind of sets it up right there too. So we'll see what happens from there. Now, we did see a video promo coming from Hook. Apparently, Hook has now said that, as you know, Samoa Joe is injured, so he appointed him as the leader of the Ops, because it's no secret to Joe that Hook has leadership quality. He's always been a team leader in sports. So that sets it up right there, so we'll see. Now, our next match, we have Mina Shirakawa versus Viva Van. They have met on countless occasions, either in tags or in singles. So basically, that's how it rolls up. Obviously, this match was going to fall in favor to Mina Shirakawa, and it did when she applied the figure 4 leg lock. And just like that, Viva Van had, of course, tapped out. But however, while she was leaving, well, the Death Rider theme song was played out from both Wheeler Yuta and Marina Shafir. Now, obviously, Mina, we know Mina has her issues with Marina Shafir for what she was doing to Toni Storm, but their opponents is Skyflight, consistent of Zeta Steel and Dante Martin. So basically, they're facing a much stronger and dangerous team. But it was, of course, once again, Marina Shafir with the Mother's Milk onto Zeta, and just like that, it was completely over by submission. But however, that scumbag Wheeler Yuta decided to grab some scissors and cut the hair of Zeta Steel. But thank God for, of course, Orange Cassidy and Toni Storm. Toni Storm nearly had Marina Shafir, but we'll see what happens from there. Now, of course, as you probably know, recently we've been seeing the interaction between two British women, Alex Winter and, of course, Jamie Hayter. And, of course, they decided to call themselves the Brawling Birds. So basically, that's their new tag name. We don't know when they will be making their debut, but I wouldn't be surprised if they make their debut in Grand Slam Australia. Now, our next match, we have Tekla versus Brittany's Brooks. Well, obviously, this match was going to fall in favor with Tekla, and she did apply a spear. But during the post match, of course, after Tekla won, they decided to punish Brittany with the strap belt, and just like that, she was manhandled. And sending a direct message to Chris Statlander, telling her, "I'm taking that belt with me, bitch." That's what we were looking at. Now, our next match, well, this one is a parking lot brawls match. We have, of course, GYV, Zach Gibson, and James Drake teaming up with Big Bill and Brian Keith. As you know, all four of these men have one thing in common: there's dislike, and this hate, of course, towards Eddie Kingston. But however, Eddie Kingston is not alone. He has Ortiz and members of the Rascals. Yep, Desmond Xavier and Zachary Wentz. Now they went through hell, I mean, going through freaking cars, and not to mention they had like some sort of smoke section inside of one of the limos. I thought it was intensified in this whole thing. I mean, people were going through the windows of the cars and all that. Then we did see, of course, Isla Dawn show up, try to help out GYV. But unfortunately, things are not going according to plan until, of course, Myron Reed showed up and took out both GYV. But later, he carried Isla Dawn out of there and put her in a van. I don't know where Myron Reed took her. But in the end, it was Eddie Kingston with a DDT onto, of course, what's his name? Onto, what's his name? Uh, Big Bill? No, Gibson. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. So Kingston, Ortiz, and the Rascals picked up the win. And this will be now the second win so far by the Rascals. Now, we did see an interview with Lex Lanier talking to, of course, Roderick Strong about his upcoming title match in the main event. Of course, the TNT Open Challenge. Even Mark Briscoe told him, that he's happy for him that he actually issued the challenge. But he told him, hey, if one day if you do become, I'll take a shot at you. And of course, Roderick Strong informed him he's not part of the conglomeration. So that's how things go. Now let's jump into that match. Of course, the TNT title. So basically, is Claudio Castagnoli versus Roderick Strong versus the champ Tommaso Ciampa. But you can tell this match was intensified. Not to mention Claudio Castagnoli putting a lot of brute strength in order to dismantle his opponents, and that's exactly what he was trying to do throughout this entirety of this match. But however, of course, there were some great moments in this one. But thing is, Roderick Strong had this match won that right. But however, it was Ciampa who's, with his in-ring experience, was able to afford that and take out Strong with a driving knee strike. And just like that, he pinned Strong 1, 2, 3. Ciampa retained the championship. However, while he was about to celebrate, Kyle Fletcher showed up and demanded that he gives him a shot of this belt in Grand Slam Australia. So basically, Kyle Fletcher took the advice from Okada. So I'm sure that's going to happen because, of course, he's determined to bring that belt back to the Don Callis family. But we'll see what happens until then. Until some announcements been made, we'll see. So we'll end things here. But also, as I said earlier at the start of this episode, no news updates. So let's just call it a day. Alright, so I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do. I'm still debating. A part of me wants to finish off, of course, the special episode involving Mighty Gold. As you know, I have already recorded day 1 through 3. I haven't done 4, 5, or 6. So I am debating on certain things on that. I am still working on the next Unagi Sayaka Watch video. This is something you probably don't want to miss, and various other things. If there's any news updates that I might do by my separately away from the episode, I will do those. But for right now, we'll leave things as it is and move on to the next episode. So until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I'm gonna bid all of you adieu. So goodbye, and have a nice day.